Hello, welcome to Life Talk for July the 2nd, 2019. I'm Mark Crutcher, and I'm joined by my usual suspects, co-host,
Yes.
Renee Hobbs,
Hello.
and my daughter, Sheila.
Hello, how are y'all?
I'm just fine. How are you, Doppy?
Good. Happy early 4th of July. That's later this week.
Yes.
Merry
Yeah.
4th of July to you, too.
I'm excited for the break. You're going to
Wait a minute, break from what?
just
Being here, because you
but you are going to be babysitting my microgreens because
I don't know what, A, I don't know what that is, and B, I'm not babysitting it.
well, mommy's going to be taking care of them while I'm off
good.
and
Well, she
busy.
She can do that if she wants to.
Anyway, we got a lot of stuff to get to here. Oh, we got to introduce Ernie.
Yes.
We keep on forgetting about Ernie, and he's sitting right here in front of us.
Yeah.
But there he is. That's Ernie, the frill-necked Republican.
He's pretty quiet, like
Yeah,
a lot of
He
Republicans.
tends to be pretty
yeah.
quiet, and he doesn't change positions too much.
No,
Maybe
he
that's because he's
kinda
made out of
sits
rubber.
there.
Yeah,
Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, get to a couple of things here first.
The Stuckies say hi real quick.
Oh, well, hi. How are you? The bloom is off the rose over at Facebook. We've been accusing them, and they've shadow banned us and just outright banned us on a couple of things. Not shadow banned us; they just banned us.
Right.
And they're doing this with all kinds of pro-life organizations and conservative groups, but pro-lifers in particular.
and individuals as well.
Individuals.
Yes.
Now, Facebook's Chief Operating Officer Sheryl Sandberg has confessed that she donated $1 million to Planned Parenthood to fight for abortion.
Yeah.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has now admitted that he conspired with abortion activists to ban pro-life ads before the vote over in Ireland.
I thought he was neutral on all of this.
I thought they were
Yeah.
just reporting the facts.
Right. Not apparently not. And this doesn't surprise me either.
No, oh, no.
I mean, you know.
Well, I mean, social media went from, especially Facebook, went from, a community where it's the individuals that, dictate the content. Now it's the platform that's dictating the
dictates the
content.
content, right.
And since they're obviously pro-abortion by donating evidence of donating to Planned Parenthood, well, the pro-life message is being censored.
When you give $1 million to Planned Parenthood, you're pretty serious about
Oh,
abortion.
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
And
lot
and
of
then
money.
him agreeing. They went to pro-life activists, and the article I read was almost hilarious. It said, we went to them to see if they thought we should ban pro-life ads. Really? You're going to go and say, you're going to consult with them and ask them, do you think we ought to ban pro-life ads?
Yeah.
And so they did. And the pro-abortion legislation passed. So anyway, y'all had a couple of things you wanted to.
Yeah.
Speaking of not being neutral, the American there was an article in the Times magazine online that said the American Medical Association is no longer neutral on abortion.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, the American Medical Association has always been for abortion.
Right.
So this article is clearly biased. But the reason this is being brought up is because the AMA is suing North Dakota to block 2 abortion laws.
Pro-life laws.
Pro-life laws.
Right.
One is they don't want their doctors to have to tell their patients that medication abortions can be reversed. They're saying, oh, there's no scientific evidence that backs that up.
There's a lot of babies walking around
Yeah.
as scientific evidence that it works.
Exactly.
It's obscene.
And they're saying they're wanting doctors to tell pregnant women before their termination that the life as a whole is separate, unique, and a living human being.
Well-
I don't see anything wrong with that.
Well, that's a North Dakota law that where doctors have to tell their patients that the abortion terminates the life of a whole, separate, unique, living human being. So that's a pro-life law that the AMA is now suing over, saying the state shouldn't have to tell.
I've had some personal,
abortionists.
I've had some personal interactions with the AMA in the past. I can tell you this is a radical pro-abortion organization.
Yeah.
But I want to correct something you said. You said the AMA has always been pro-life. They haven't.
No, not pro-life, pro-abortion.
I mean, pro-abortion. They haven't. In the early days of the AMA, they actually had a pro-life position that they took, and they said that abortionists are people that enter the medical community to bring dishonor and disgrace upon it, and that they should be ostracized. They even said other people that are in the medical community should not have anything to do with people that do abortions.
Well, and this article actually brought up how at the beginning of when Roe versus Wade, that they weren't for abortion, but a few years passed, and then they staunchly became
obscenity.
pro-abortion.
Well, because they have more women in the higher offices now that are obviously pro-abortion.
Right, exactly.
Yep. Yes. So we covered a story, I don't know, it's been a couple of months, of an 82-year-old that was
Pro-lifer.
Yeah, an 82-year-old pro-lifer. Her name is Donna Dunning, and she was hospitalized by a pro-abort. She had broken her femur and cut her head because she was trying to hand out pro-life literature. And the woman had gone to the grand jury, and they decided not to indict this person.
It's a 32-year-old woman
Yeah.
beats up an 82-year-old woman, breaks her leg. The woman's had to have surgery.
Yeah.
And she's had to have physical therapy.
Right.
She's undergoing that now, is what I understand.
Yes.
And 82 years old,
Right.
and they're not going to do anything.
They're not doing anything about it whatsoever. And in Georgia, in Kentucky, the Black Lives Matter is getting behind this. They are wanting to raise
On the side of the pro-aborts.
on the side of the pro-aborts, mind you. They're wanting to raise money for the person that assaulted the 82-year-old, and said that Dunning fell on purpose. An 82-year-old's going to fall on purpose and break her femur.
Right.
Well, the Antifa, Black Lives Matter, these people are all under the same basket. They don't care about anybody else except for themselves and their viewpoints. They talk about being progressive, open-minded, wanting anti-fascist. They're not. They're completely the opposite.
Well, these are neo-Marxist groups, and that they're communist, they're Marxist. These are the people that hundreds of thousands of Americans have died fighting, and now we're letting them roam the streets, beat up 82-year-old women, doing nothing about it.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is not the first time we've had this situation.
Right.
It's becoming a routine thing.
Right. And they're becoming more vicious, and they're more, just openly attacking anything pro-life that they can.
Well, it's always been a pro-life issue. Pro-lifers have always been attacked. But now more and more people are starting to see more violence from the left as a whole, not just
Right.
over the abortion issue. And also that, this is how they operate.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, and I won't. We'll just leave it at this. If the godless left, if these Marxist, degenerate, communist, I won't use the words I would normally use to describe them, if they think that they can ultimately win by becoming violent, I think they're going to see this thing blow up in their face.
Oh, it's going to get bad.
It's going to get bad, and they're
Right.
going to come out on the short end of the stick.
Yep.
And you can take that as a threat or whatever you want to take it as, but I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. We've seen a couple of things. Of course, as the pro-life movement makes progress and the godless left sees that we're making progress, their newspaper of record, the New York Times, is getting more and more involved in the battle and basically carrying the water for the abortion industry. For example, just recently they had a article, the headlines of which was, "As passions flare in abortion debate, many Americans say it's complicated." Saying that the abortion issue is complicated is historically the pro-abortion position.
Yeah.
And they want it to be complicated because their thinking is, and I think to some degree they're correct, that the more complicated they can make the issue appear, the fewer people will get involved in opposition to it. They'll say, it's just too complicated, I don't understand.
Well, also, it leaves it open for justification that abortion is okay.
Right, sure it does. And the fact is, what's complicated is the defense of legalized abortion.
Yes.
Abortion itself is not complicated. Either the unborn child is a living human being or they're not.
Yes.
Right.
And if they are, you can't kill them.
Right.
It's that simple.
It is
You can't
very
justify
simple.
killing an unborn child
Right.
if they're a living human being.
Right.
If that same reason won't justify killing a 5-year-old or a 50-year-old.
That's right.
And so it's not a complicated issue.
Right.
What's complicated is their defense of abortion, and they make it complicated because they know that fits their purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing the New York Times did recently is they had an article called "When an Abortion Doctor Becomes a Mother," and this is a godless, degenerate Christine Hannaberg, abortionist, wrote this article, and the New York Times published it. And she's an abortionist, and she was gotten pregnant. Now she's thinking about, well, how does this all match
in.
together,
Right.
you know? And she at one time had a problem getting pregnant and had told her husband she was concerned that this might be a karma situation.
Well, the fact that she even acknowledged
Right.
that, tells you that, yes, she knows it's wrong.
Yeah, she said, I might become known
true.
as the abortion doctor who can't get pregnant.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had the story we covered several times here in years.
With Lisa Harris, the abortionist
in Pennsylvania,
Ohio,
no, Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, and she's a professor, I think, at University of Michigan or Michigan State somewhere. Anyway, but she's a practicing abortionist, and she wrote an article one time about she was 18 weeks pregnant,
Right.
doing an 18-week abortion,
Yes.
and how she broke down into tears because she felt that baby kicking. That
At the time when she was doing the abortion.
at the same time she's killing somebody else's baby.
Right.
And then after the abortion, she put the baby back together so she could see what her baby looked
looked like in her womb.
These people are completely
It's
whacked.
disgusting.
Completely. Well, this woman made some of the same types of statements. And she was talking about doing a 17-week abortion on a patient. The fetus, let me read you what she said. The fetus, which is normally extracted in parts, came through the cervix intact. I dropped it in the metal dish and saw it move, or I thought I did. It was all I could do not to run from the procedure room crying. And then she said, but the hardest time came after her daughter was born. She said, one day at the clinic, a protester watched me from the sidewalk as I pulled into the parking lot. I felt his eyes on me as I climbed out and opened the trunk to get my bag. We keep a stroller in our trunk like any other parent of an almost 1-year-old. Oh, look at that, the man shouted across the lot. That's a hypocrisy if I ever saw it. The baby killer has a stroller in her trunk. How do you live with yourself? Killing babies in the morning and going home in the evening and putting a baby in the stroller. You are sick. She said, I closed the trunk, holding back tears. I walked into the clinic. How do I continue this work? She said, the answer is that there's a connection between my work as an abortion doctor and my work as a mother. It's not just what most people imagine. It's not a tension or a contradiction to be reconciled. It's a symbiosis, a harmony. This woman is nuts.
Yeah.
She is
She
completely
is lying to
whacked.
herself.
Yes.
Yeah, because she can't handle the truth.
Well, she knows the truth. She's just trying to justify it in that article.
That's all she can do.
And I mean, there is a connection. There's a what she perceives as a connection with being an abortionist and her child. Well, it's actually true with OBGYNs who deliver babies and who take care of pregnant women and babies
Right.
and those who have children. Like, that's the relationship, not an abortionist who kills the children.
Years ago, we had a nurse, I think we had her on Life Talk. This was probably 20 years ago. And she had been a nurse in a NICU unit, a neonatal intensive care unit at a hospital. And she said there was an OBGYN that used to come in there. And she said that I knew that he was also moonlighting as an abortionist at a Planned Parenthood. And she told me one time, she said, it was all I could do. She said, I had to fight with myself the hatred that I had for this guy. And she said, I finally confronted him, and she wound up losing her job.
Yeah.
She said, I confronted him and said, how on God's green earth can you come in here and see these poor little babies struggling to live,
right,
struggling, doing everything they can just to live,
right.
and then walk right out of here and go to that Planned
And
Parenthood and
kill.
kill babies just like
Right.
these?
I wouldn't want that man taking care of my child in the NICU. That's for sure.
I don't want him walking the face of the planet.
Yeah.
I probably would have gotten more than just losing my job.
Right.
I would have called that man out and
Well,
done
she did,
a.
and it cost her job. But
Yeah.
she said, she said she used to talk to her husband about it and say, look, I don't know how much longer I can take this. She said, I see this SOB walk in the NICU unit there where I work, and she said, she said, I know God does not want me to hate him, but I can't help it. I hate him.
I would have posted his picture all over the hospital.
Well, everybody knew what he was doing.
And I would tell every one of his patients, I would divert patients away from him because I wouldn't want that slime bag touching.
Yep.
I hope this
These other
person though
babies.
that had an issue having a child and kills babies, that God really does convict her heart and she turns from what she's doing.
Yeah, you've got to hope that, but after 40 years in this, I very rarely see that happen. These people compartmentalize. And she talks about that. She talks about the ability to compartmentalize and see killing these babies as one thing, but then raising my own baby is another.
Just like the
Just like they
Nazis did with the, you hear about Nazi soldiers who put Jewish people in the gas chambers, and
Just
they
had regular lives.
exactly, and you hear them trying to tell the same thing, compartmentalizing, and it's the same thing.
Well, that was one of the themes of the the TV series with Michael Moriarty, where he played a Nazi concentration camp commander or overlord or whatever you want to call him. And they showed that, in the daytime he went to this concentration camp and oversaw executing men, women, and even little children, sometimes brutally executing them, sometimes gassing them, whatever. He was in charge of this. He saw what was going on. He knew it. But then come 5 o'clock, he goes out and gets his car and drives home and eats dinner with his kids and plays with them out in the yard, plays baseball out in the yard with them. And he's just a regular guy living next door to you. And how you can have that sort of pathological evil normalized by the person who is evil is what these people are doing. That's exactly what these people are doing.
Exactly.
Anyway, and that's why I've said for years, there's going to come a time, I may not live to see it, but there's going to come a time when the American people are going to look back on this time in history the same way we look back at the Germans and say, how did they sit around and let that go on? Because make no mistake about it, this used to be my hobby, was studying World War II. The German people knew what was happening. They can sit here since World War II. A lot of them have tried to say, oh, we didn't have any idea this was going on. That's nonsense.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what was going on.
And it's similar to the civil rights movement as well.
Yeah, or slavery here in America.
Yeah.
People knew what was going on. They just didn't care. It was to their benefit to look the other way.
Well, it's just like that video, Sing a Little Louder.
Yeah.
That is
Powerful.
very powerful video.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to encourage people. We haven't talked about it in a long time. Go on YouTube and type in Sing a Little Louder and watch that video. What is it, 11 minutes?
It's about 11 or 12 minutes. It's really good.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And, but it's basically what the church did in Nazi Germany.
And it's what a lot of the church as a whole is doing on the abortion issue.
It's what they're doing right here in the United States. It's no different whatsoever. It's exactly what's happening. Anyway, when we come back from robots, that's up next. When we come back, we're going to be talking about I don't know how to describe, just lunacy of these Democratic debates. It would almost be funny if it weren't so sad,
It seems like a sketch comedy.
I saw somebody watch that second debate, and I saw a comment on YouTube about it, and they said this thing was funnier than any Saturday Night Live skit. Saturday Night Live couldn't make anything funnier than what these actual people were doing, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. But anyway, let's take out a few minutes for robots.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as robots. This is how they think.
If abortion is illegal, what should the penalty be for a woman who has one?
Laws prohibiting abortion target the abortionist, not the woman. This is evidenced by the fact that before Roe v. Wade, American women were not prosecuted for having illegal abortions. For two pragmatic legal reasons, that same approach should be adopted when abortion is again illegal. First, except in the extremely unlikely event that a woman is actually caught in the act of having an illegal abortion, convicting her for having one would be virtually impossible. Second, The woman is the best source of information needed to bring charges against the abortionist. If she also faced prosecution, she would not cooperate with the authorities, thus keeping them from getting the evidence needed to convict the abortionist. That would leave him free to kill again. The point is, not prosecuting the woman does not excuse her for having participated in an illegal act that took the life of her child. It simply recognizes that the public interest is best served by removing the abortionist from society, and that legal sanctions against the woman would reduce the chances of that happening. It's no different than the authorities giving immunity to a small-time drug user in exchange for information that puts a big-time drug dealer in prison. Remember, the goal of the pro-life movement is to protect the lives of the unborn. Imprisoning a woman who had an illegal abortion would prevent nothing, since her child is already dead. But imprisoning the abortionist might save thousands of babies in the future. The point is, rotting in jail is exactly where every abortionist deserves. If giving women a pass on prosecution is the best way to make that happen, that is a deal worth making. From the pro-life perspective, there is simply no practical reason for jailing women who submit to abortions. Now, if the pro-choice gang thinks it's unfair or inconsistent or hypocritical for abortionists to go to jail but not their customers, then let them lobby for the legislation that would put women in jail. Just leave us out of it. We're back. It's hard for me to kind of picture this given the political situation today. I grew up in a family that was Democrats. My parents were. My mother worked for Adlai Stevenson's campaign back in the 50s. But that was not uncommon in the South. I mean, most Southerners were Democrats. Most Republicans were pretty reviled in the South. That's flopped over the years. But
Right. And the Democratic Party back then was a
whole lot
lot different. It was a completely...
Well, we had a Democratic governor here one time, John Connally. He was in the car with Kennedy. He actually got shot when Kennedy got shot. And he was a Democrat and governor of Texas. And he said when he changed over to the Republican Party, he said, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. They left me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that's happened with a lot of people. But over the years, they've become loonier and loonier. I mean, it is almost comical.
Where do they get these people?
Where do they dredge these people up?
I don't know.
I want to play just one little clip. Now, understand something. There were 24 people that are running as Democrats right now?
Yes.
Something like that. But they didn't want to have all 24 of them up, so they divided it up into two.
Right.
And then they said, we're only going to take the top 10 in each one.
Right.
So that leaves 4 people out, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to think then, okay, the remaining 20 or 10 in each debate are the cream of the crop.
Right.
They've whittled out the 4.
Yeah.
I want to play a clip here from one of these 20 people. This woman is running for president of the United States as a Democrat, and I want you to watch this clip.
My first call is to Prime Minister of New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And I will tell her girlfriend you were so on, because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world. But one of my first phone calls would be to call the European leaders and say, we're back. Mr. President, if you're listening, I want you to hear me, please. You have harnessed fear for political purposes, and only love can cast that out. So sir, I have a feeling you know what you're doing. I'm going to harness love for political purposes. I will meet you on that field, and sir, love will win.
I believe her!
Did you hear how people were laughing?
Even Democrats were laughing at her.
She made such a complete fool out of herself.
I don't even know what she's saying. Her words do not make any sense.
No, not at all.
And also, if you're the 4 people who didn't get picked for these debates, you're thinking, man, how much
I'm worse than her?
How much of a loser am I that I couldn't even get up there next to this bimbo?
Mr. President, I'm going to harness with love.
Right.
Where is she from?
I have no
I
idea.
don't know who she is.
I would bet you that Donald Trump watched that and thought, oh, please, please, Lord, let her be the nominee.
I will take her down.
But you know, I don't know what you say. And this whole debate on a more serious matter, when it came to the abortion issue, the theme was each one of them got up and promised that they would kill more babies than all the other ones.
Yeah, right. They
You
had
know,
to outdo each other here.
I said that that was what the contest was. Who will promise to kill the most babies? And I did a YouTube or a Facebook thing or some nonsense
Facebook video,
Live.
fo-
the other
video
day that y'all
posts. Yeah.
talked me into. And I said, you know, the Republicans had this deal, No Child Left Behind, a few years ago, talking about education under the Bush administration. I think the Democratic Party's motto should be "No Child Left Alive."
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they're talking about here.
And instead of the symbol being a donkey for the Democrats, it should be Grim Reaper.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what they are. And to think that this once great political party has degenerated to this point, where this collection of buffoons,
Yes.
and there was not a single one of them up there that you could look at and say, well, at least they got this guy.
Yeah.
I may disagree with him, but at least he's kind of tightly wrapped compared to say like this nitwit we just saw.
Or them trying to outspeak Spanish
Oh
with
yeah,
each other.
three
Yeah.
different ones got up there and spoke Spanish. It was.
You know, I have a friend that posted something on Facebook of a list that went on in the debates, and America. I can't remember exactly what the list was, but American was spoke about twice.
Yeah.
That's it.
English,
Twice. Yeah.
It just, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is.
That we've come to this point. And of course, all this speaking Spanish, I hope that Hispanic voters look at that and say, that's pure pandering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surely they're smart enough to say
And
that.
Beto, he was having a hard time speaking.
He did the best he could.
We got the side eyes from the other.
These Hispanics also need to look at, of course, Beto is fading into
Yeah.
the sunset, but here's a guy whose real name is Robert Francis, not Beto.
Yeah.
He chose Beto because that's a common nickname for Roberto, and he wanted to convince people he was Hispanic. He's not.
No.
He's not Hispanic.
He's
He's
his-
Italian, Irish or something, but his name is Robert Francis O'Rourke. But this is the way the Democrats have become just the kind of the party of abortion and pandering. We'll pander to whatever group we can get votes from.
And clowns.
And clowns.
I mean, they just need to pull up in a clown car and them all jump out and just descend upon the stage.
This is amazing. I mean, what this party has come down to.
She's supposedly a motivational speaker, that Williamson,
Yeah.
a motivational speaker, a new age, the one person Oprah Winfrey admires so much. She has followed her beliefs.
Well, of course, Oprah Winfrey has fallen off the planet.
Yeah. Who would listen to that woman giving a motivational speech?
But wait a minute. You can't blame her. The question is, out of 24 people, and you're only going to put 20 up there, why did the Democrats choose that woman? That means they looked at 4 other people that were running for Democratic president and said, they're worse than her.
Yeah.
This one right here makes more sense. I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Hey, Jeffrey. He says recently Beto campaigned for president in Mexico, not New Mexico, in Mexico.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Didn't know that.
It's just, but, you know, everybody made a big deal about him coming close to Ted Cruz here in Texas. But what's being shown now on the national media is that when he doesn't have the media covering up for him because they've got 23 other godless leftists that they're just as happy with, when they don't cover up for Beto, he doesn't go anywhere.
Well, and plus, it turns out that there were a lot of invalid votes from illegal voters.
Yeah.
And
But-
so he actually didn't come as close as the media said.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, it was the most expensive race for Senate in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
$80 million poured into Texas
Yep.
to support Beto O'Rourke, and he still lost
Yep.
Yep.
against a guy that let's be honest. I know he's kind of a favorite of yours, but he's not the most popular Republican
he's
in
not.
Texas.
No.
He's got a lot of detractors here.
Right.
And Beto O'Rourke with with the leftist media on his side and money, $80 million pouring into Texas to support him, still couldn't win.
Yeah.
So, and
Money's
now
not
he's
everything.
now he's fading into the sunset.
Exactly.
Anyway, all right. Anything else?
Nope, nothing else.
Got anything?
Just have a happy 4th of July, everyone.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're gonna
Be safe.
You're gonna go off and leave your.
Microgreens.
Protect your
Yeah.
animals. From fireworks, they get scared.
Yes,
they run
yes.
off.
Yeah, they do.
Yep. Somebody said on the news this morning coming in that you need to have a video of fireworks, not so loud, just to integrate them to the sound.
Yeah.
That's a good
Interesting.
idea. I wonder how Tux, our new doggy, well, not new.
We've had him
he's
a year now.
About a year. I wonder how he's going to do with
I don't know.
the
He's scared of
fireworks.
everything else. He ought to be
Yeah.
scared of them too.
Yeah, he's afraid of umbrellas.
He's
so.
our watchdog.
Yeah.
If somebody broke
You know
into the
what?
building, he'd watch them take everything.
I think
we
our
got.
cat would do a little bit of a better job.
Yeah.
Than Willie.
We have a cat that weighs 1/10 as much
Yep.
as Tux, but King Tux is scared to death of
Tugs.
King Tux. Anyway, that's our dog Tux. We love him to death.
Yeah.
He's kind of weird. For those of you who know anything about dogs, he's a Catahoula.
Yeah.
And we've before brought our other dogs here and put him on the set and let you see him like
Not
Toby.
him.
Yeah.
He would knock everything down.
He's a Catahoula. And I never even heard of a Catahoula. This is the first Catahoula I ever remember hearing from, and he's our dog. Boy, he is wild. But
He's sweet, though.
he's a good little dog. Lots of personality. But anyway, he's all over the lot. Anyway, that's all the time we have. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. See you next week.